The world refugee situation is the worst that it's ever been. The UN say that there are 65 million people around the world displaced. From Syria alone, there are 8 million refugees that have left Syria. People everywhere need to understand the seriousness of the situation around the world.
Many refugees have tried to get to the security of Europe across the Mediterranean. European volunteers have tried to help in any way they can. But for some, it's become a way of life.
507.5.
507.0.
This convoy is heading across Europe with desperately needed aid. 1,200 miles and 5 days to do it. The convoy has been organised by the charity Hope and Aid Direct, led by founder Chaz Storer.
I was a boring banker, doing 9 to 5 back in 1996, the Balkans War and Croatia, Bosnia. I found that my neighbour had been out on a trip to Croatia and was going again, and I said, I'm there, I'm coming. And it gets under your skin somewhat once you do it. I started the charity Hope and Aid Direct in 1999. We're all volunteers. We have to do everything ourselves that is involved in getting aid that is needed from here to there.
This time, Chaz and his team of volunteers are taking basic aid from Essex to Šid in Serbia. But the seeds of this mission were sown 2 years before.
In November 2015, I was watching the television, seeing what was happening on the beaches of Lesvos, and I thought, we've got to do something. And literally within a week, I was on a plane to Lesvos.
Eftelu, and this boat has just arrived, just literally as I've come down here to see the operation.
Within 1 hour, 6 boats came in full of refugees from Turkey.
And there's another boat just coming in over on the left.
To call them a boat is a nonsense. They're rubber rafts, they're dangerous, they're thoroughly overflowing with people in all states of trauma. A man got out of the boat in a pinstripe suit with a shirt and tie and shoes. He had no expression on his face at all. He had no idea why he was there, where he was, or how he'd really got there. And as you can see, it's a wow moment. It's a moment that sort of I'll never forget.
The boat that's in the foreground here has just arrived with a load of people, and there's another boat just arriving now within the space of about 15 minutes.
The sheer scale of the crisis meant Hope and Aid Direct needed to work with another organisation for their next mission.
And then we went to Thessaloniki in July 16, and we had fantastic support from Muntada, Al Muntada Trust and Muntada Aid to help us financially with that particular trip.
Muntada Aid is based in London, and we work in many countries in Africa and Middle East and Asia. We work through our partners on the ground who work on a grassroots level. They know what's going on the ground, and they are the best to enable us to implement our projects. We didn't have an established partner in Europe. We had partners all around Africa and the Middle East and Asia. We did some research on Hope and Aid, saw the amazing work they were doing, and we decided to partner with them. The first mission we did with Hope and Aid was in 2016 in Thessaloniki. I drove with them all the way to Thessaloniki. It's going to be a really epic odyssey We're going to be going through 7 countries, starting with France, Belgium, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Romania, and then Bulgaria, and then Greece. I think our partnership is perfect. We are an international humanitarian organization. We have a lot of infrastructure, ability to raise funds. We have a fundraising department, we have a marketing department, we have offices, and we have staff. Hope is an entirely volunteer organization. So we can provide them with the support of an international NGO, and they have contacts with suppliers who donate goods to them. So they're able to collect the goods. We are able to provide them with the support needed to get those goods to the people who need it.
In and around Greece, there are refugee camps all over the country. We were sending the trucks out to different parts of the country, to different camps, and some camps are very much better than others.
Earlier, Robbie, the warehouse manager, received an urgent call from a refugee camp asking him to deliver some emergency supplies. So we loaded the truck and we're heading to the refugee camp with the supplies.
It was in the middle of, literally in the middle of nowhere. So the refugees who are in the camp, of course, they can't get anywhere, they're stuck.
I think Thessaloniki and Lesbos were the worst conditions that I had seen.
We're all going to start distributing now. Each of us will have 4 of the local guys helping us, and we'll make sure every tent gets 1 box of supplies, whatever we've brought.
This camp, albeit there were some buildings in the camp, there were an awful lot of tents and people living pretty much rough. In the middle of summer, it was July, it was incredibly hot, it was dirty, it was smelly. There were something like 15 or 20 portaloo toilets on either side of this warehouse building, with something like 1,500 refugees. Desperate.
In Thessaloniki, I met many people who had lost complete hope because they'd been in the camps for months and months and they didn't know what was going to happen to them. One of the fathers was saying, I wish we'd all drowned in the sea. We're just wasting away here. My child is slowly dying in front of me.
What is the rest of the world doing to stop these things, to help those people to feel that somebody out there, somebody anywhere, actually cares for them? Fast forward to October 17, the refugees are on the move all the time. They're coming up through Greece, Macedonia, into Serbia. I had information which made it evident that our help was needed in northwest Serbia. We've got 3 7.5-ton trucks this time. And a 40-ton Arctic, and we're going out to Serbia.
But there's still a long way to go.
We're now heading towards Belgium. The aim is I think it's going to take probably about 2.5 hours to get there, and that's what we're aiming to do tonight. So is this Belgium now? England, tick. France, tick. And now we're in Belgium. Yes.
But the news doesn't stay good for long.
Chaz, Birdie. We got a problem, one of our wheels. We think possibly wheel nuts loose or something of that sort. We're going to have to stop.
When the call came across on the radio to say that wheel nuts were loose, there's no choice, you have to stop.
All trucks follow, please, onto the hard shoulder. Who's at the back, frantic? We're here. Tell us when you're on the hard shoulder, frantic. We're in. I think we may have some loose wheel nuts on the driver's side. It's quite dangerous getting out here on the passenger side.
We've had all sorts of problems which we've had to deal with over the years, but loose wheel nuts, wow, that's a big danger.
As soon as I touched the brake, it suddenly started to make a funny noise. I'm hoping that we've got it in time.
One of the bolt splines is not properly working, so it's not properly doing up. But the other 5 out of 6 are working okay, so we're all right. We'll have a look when it's safer. Right, let's go, guys. Let's load up quickly. Come on.
Go, go. Everybody out.
I'm not there.
Everyone's out. Well done, everybody.
Thank you, Chaz.
We were safely able to limp to the first immediate proper pullover, which was in a service station.
While some of the team sleep, the rest carry on working on the wheel. The truck can't go any further until it's fixed.
Yes, so we discovered that we think that whoever changed the tyres didn't tighten up one of the wheel nuts properly.
Tonight, they'll sleep in the back of the trucks.
It can be very, very cold in the winter. On one occasion, I remember waking up in the morning. I'd been snug in my sleeping bag. I put my hand out of my sleeping bag to grab a plastic bottle of water for a drink, and my hand froze to the frozen bottle. That's not fun in a sleeping bag in the back of a truck.
Okay, so it's really cold. We're just about to go to bed and to sleep. This ghostly picture is actually me. You can probably see the steam. Gosh, it's down to minus something degrees. Over there you can probably, I'm going to try and show you my bed for tonight. It's actually, I've put a tent up inside the truck on top of the load. Okay, so here we are inside my extremely cosy tent. We think it's about -5 outside. It's very, very cold. I think it's time to say good night and goodbye from me here in a very cold but very snug tent. Bye bye.
But as soon as it's light, they have to continue work on the wheel. And finally, it's fixed. The convoy has lost valuable time and rest, but decide to press on into Germany. And by the afternoon, they're over the border. But the going is slow.
We're limited to 50 miles an hour, so it's just a very, very slow journey.
The 7.5-ton trucks are driven in the main by non-professional truck drivers. In other words, they're driven by normal members of the public who don't have professional training in driving a big truck. I insist that there are 2 drivers. The idea is to keep the trucks moving as long as possible during the day. I don't let people drive for more than 2 hours at a time, and we change drivers and the co-driver takes over. That means that the person who's been driving can now get a bit of rest.
Well, the journey can be treacherous by itself. It's a long journey, and it can be the drive. If nothing went wrong, even the drive alone is difficult anyway. But anything can happen. I mean, you saw yesterday with the nuts on one of the trucks were loose. Very dangerous. You've got to be concentrating 100%. None of us have been trained for emergency situations, so fingers crossed it all goes well, and we try and deal with things as they happen.
I always say to people I have 2 main objectives. I want to get the aid to the right people at the right time, and I want to get our team out there and back safely.
One of the 7.5-ton trucks, Sea Dog, is driven by retired broadcast engineer Bernie Sullivan. He's been volunteering on convoys for over 5 years.
I suppose in my younger days I felt very sad about the human rights situation in America, and then the Vietnam War, and then the earlier wars in Bosnia, but I did nothing. And then suddenly I was one day listening to Radio 4, this lady came on and was interviewed, and I thought, well, she's going to do an aid convoy, I'd love to take part. I've been to Serbia once before with an aid convoy. When you actually see, with your own eyes the situation of people, it brings it to a complete new reality. You talk to many people here and they will say it's changed their lives, as it did mine. What we do is nothing really, it's minute, but we're just ordinary people, and ordinary people can, no matter how powerless they feel, it's possible for anybody to do something positive if only they decide that they're going to do something.
The team had planned to cross over into Austria, but it just won't be possible. Next morning, there are miles to make up.
Right now we're in Germany. We're approaching the Austrian border, and the plan today really is to get as far as we can through Austria and Slovenia and into Croatia. It would be nice if we could get to the Croatian-Serbian border, but we're not going to, I don't think, so we'll probably get somewhere around about Zagreb, stop overnight, and then we'll make an early start in the morning, punch our way through to the Serbian border, and then all the fun starts.
But after just an hour on the road, the convoy comes to a standstill.
What is the problem here?
Basically, there's a big traffic jam. Seems to be just all about lorries.
So Roddy and his big truck just have to sit in the queue. He'll have to take a different route and catch up with the others later.
Chaz, who is driving Robin Hood, has found a potential other route. I haven't really got a clue where we're going.
So the rest of the convoy has to take a new route across German countryside.
So it's 11:15. We all met and left at 7:30 this morning. So just shy of 4 hours, and today we have driven a staggering 94.3 miles. So we've had lots of traffic jams, a few detours. So we're still on a detour, but I think we're going to stop soon for something to eat.
Parking area like that next to the Danube, that will be perfect.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to see a bit of a change rather than just concrete all the time. And yeah, I think everyone's in good spirits anyway, regardless of what happens. We've all got one goal. We've got one thing to do, is to get all the aid to the people that need it. So it's my 5th trip in 16 months. My first trip was July 2016. My son went to Kosovo 2 years ago with this charity, and I went 2 years later because my daughter wanted to go, and that's how I got involved. I've been hooked ever since because I've seen how people are living, and I want to be able to help them where I can. Been to Serbia. The people that I've met, they're living in kind of ex-army barracks, places like that. Conditions there are not, for me, not fit for human beings. And You know, if it wasn't for the fact that we were doing these trips, I'm not sure how these people would be fed or clothed or looked after, because we didn't see much help going on within Serbia. It's difficult. I would hate for this to happen to my family. So I'm kind of driven that way too, because behind everything, as a father, I would love for someone to come to my country if we experience the same things to help my family. And so as a father, I want to be there and try and do what I can.
In a few hours, the remaining 3 trucks are over the Austrian border into Slovenia. By pushing on into the night, they gather up some lost miles.
I quite enjoy driving at night, and I think Tony's the same. He quite enjoys driving at night. Obviously you get tired at night, particularly when it gets after midnight. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning are very bad times.
Tonight, they'll park up at a service station a few hours from the Serbian border. Today is the last day before they hit Serbia.
Okay, so today's when the challenges start. The idea today is to try and get ourselves through the Croatian border into Serbia, and once we've done that, then we're in the hands of whoever, because it can be straightforward or it can be painful, and I'm not expecting it to be straightforward necessarily, so we'll see.
I've just gone through the tunnel, the first tunnel. We've got about 340 kilometres to go from Slovenia into Serbia. So I reckon if the traffic's okay and we keep going at, say, 80 kilometres an hour, we've probably got just, say, 3 or 4 hours to go. We've just entered Croatia, so now we're full steam ahead to go to Serbia.
We've pulled into the services. Okay, let's go and get some coffee. Everybody was in a good mood.
What's going on?
We've lost complete power. Won't start. We have no dashboard lights. Could be an immobiliser. It could be fuse, but we have nothing.
Dead as a dodo. No power, no ignition lights, nothing.
I think Brian broke it. I'm working perfectly well up to Brian's turn to drive. Brian, you broke the truck.
It's not long before a mechanic arrives.
Yeah, guys, hang on a sec, hang on, they'll do it.
Bring the one electric.
Auto electrician, you give me a rough idea?
I think about half hour, 45 minutes.
Half an hour would be fantastic. The mechanic has been here. His view is that we need an auto electrician, which is, again, the next step. He reckons about half an hour to 40 minutes and the electrician will be here. 2 words.
Sounds like.
What does it begin with?
It's a long film and a long book, so it's probably War and Peace.
Yes!
Yeah.
Easy.
Really?
2 hours later, the electrician arrives.
Keep going.
Yes? No. Yes?
House good. House.
No.
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 We're getting a bit disgruntled now. we still don't know what's happening, and the mechanic or the engineer is going through all the checks that we just did.
But he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he hasn't got any further forward.
This chap is a professional auto engineer.
Electronic engineer.
So he knows what he's doing.
Who doesn't speak a word of English.
I've got Google Translate.
She got Google Translate.
What else do we need?
A working truck.
But he's going to fix it.
I prova, start.
How's that? It's looking good though. We got it started. At last.
There's a very heavy-duty fuse in a black plastic box very close to the main battery pack.
I saw that. Was that gone?
It had gone, but
no,
now,
I checked
now
it.
it's fixed.
I checked it. The big fuse in the cable behind the battery.
Yes.
I had that in my hand.
And he's supposed to be my lead driver.
I looked at it. But I looked at it. It looked fine. I could have been a hero. 4 hours ago.
The truck might be repaired, but that's a lot of time wasted. It may be too late to get to the border. Chaz needs to check with his contact.
Look, I think that it will be better to come in the morning.
You do?
Early in the morning, yes.
What time should we arrive at the border tomorrow?
7:30.
7.
If it's
So
possible, it's not, then later.
no, that's
Yeah.
fine. 7. If we need to be there at 7, we'll be there at 7. Thanks,
Okay.
Robbie.
See you then.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. Robbie's saying he's spoken to the customs people. If we go through at night, we're just going to spend the whole night trying to go through a process that's just going to go on and on. Nobody can go anywhere. Nobody can do anything. We're all stuck. Robbie is saying don't do it, and the customs man is saying come tomorrow, not today. So, as far as I'm concerned, the decision is made.
I just want to get going and get there.
Yes. We're close. We're close now.
We're in touching distance.
Yes.
At dawn, they head straight for the Serbian border. But once they arrive, the whole convoy is detained.
We were told there was no alternative. We were going to have to empty our trucks. Every single last box or bag was going to have to come out and be emptied into their warehouse.
Next day, the trucks arrive at the rendezvous point near Shid, but they're all empty.
We're just about to get in the trucks and go back to Shid, to the customs warehouse. Hopefully we'll be able to take the aid out today and get on with what we came to do. The customs man turned up and went through everything with an absolutely fine tooth comb. Now, there are problems when you go through borders, and there are things which you would think are obviously going to create difficulty. You wouldn't expect to have a problem with wheelchairs and Zimmer frames, which were a major problem. You certainly wouldn't expect to have a problem with hair combs. Getting into the country, it's getting worse. We've driven across Europe. Before we've driven across Europe, we've been boxing aid for months. We've been raising money for months. We've got a flying team that have flown out, given up their time to fly out, and they've arrived, and now we've got to sit there when we can't do anything. If they've come out there to do a job that they know they've allowed 5 days for, and they can't start, they're really frustrated. It just has a knock-on effect.
Hope and Aid Direct and Muntada Aid help maintain a free clothing shop for refugees not far from the warehouse. Volunteers are waiting to see if there'll be any new stock.
There was nothing we could do other than go along with the process. In theory, the customs could impound everything that we take.
Refugees have been seen sleeping rough in the woods nearby. Many meet at the train tracks, hoping to get on a train to Europe and start again. They've been told there's a derelict building where refugees come together if the weather gets too bad. If they ever do get the aid, this is a place that might need it most. Kabir flew in yesterday to help oversee distribution, but with no aid, he's decided to look into local conditions.
This is a squat just outside near the refugee camp here in Shid. The refugees that are in Shid are using this place as a base. Some of them are sleeping here, some of them just gather here during the day, and then in the nights they go out and sleep in the bushes in the surrounding area.
There are about 200 people that live in the surrounding woods and come here when they can for help. Police raid the site frequently, but the refugees have nowhere to go but back into the woods.
So this is their classroom. Yes.
The place there for sleep people.
They sleep over there?
Yeah.
Well, these conditions here are deplorable. This is not fit for habitation, but people are still sleeping here. They have no choice. Where do they go? Where do they sleep? This is the Afghani room. How many sleep here?
15.
15 people.
One being one.
And there sleep 4 people. 3 in one night there. And 8 for
heater.
Fire.
Yeah. I visit refugee camps all the time in Africa, in Turkey, and Thessaloniki, and Lesbos, in many places. But this is deplorable. This is just, I don't know, this is, there's no help here. There's no assistance. People are just left here to fend for themselves. If it hadn't been for some of these charities supplying them with water and washing facilities and a generator so they can charge their phones and remain in contact with their families, I don't know what these people would be doing. I can see that a lot of them are very young. They're just, you know, some of them are teenagers, some of them in their early 20s, and they're completely lost. They don't know, you know, what they're doing with their lives, and there's no support for them apart from these charities that are here, who give them food and some clothing and some support.
There's been no news back from customs for a few days now. Then, early next morning,
We've brought the big truck in because it's full. We need to get it offloaded. When there's stuff like this happening, the energy, everyone just pulls together. That's fantastic. I like fantastic.
finally, the volunteers flown in from the UK to help can get to work.
I'm extremely pleased. It's been very frustrating. I'm afraid that's just the nature of the game, and with the refugee crisis, everything's very fluid. You've got lots of different groups trying to pull together and work together. The authorities change the game, change the rules. You can do this, you can't do that. And the team, you know, the team of people. We've got 20-odd people here who come from the UK. Everybody gets is keen to see the stuff that we brought get out there, and they get enthusiastic. And then it's a bit frustrating when things happen very slowly. So it takes time, but we're getting there.
Always the highlight of the tour, isn't it?
I love this bit.
Much of the aid has been gathered by a group of volunteers from Liverpool.
We saw it all on the wagon, we've sorted it, we spent months and months and months preparing. It's come all the way across Europe with Roddy, looked after it for us. All the people that have helped us, yeah. People have stored it, that have palletised it. It's now about to come off, so we're really pleased that it's going to get to where we want it to be.
These are fabulous boots, so they're going to keep them warm and dry. That's what we want. We work as a team pretty much all year round. Once we first came over and we started it, it just rolled from there. We've never really stopped. So we collect and sort and box and then come out with the convoys. This is about my 8th time in 18 months probably. I don't want to be that person in 20 years' time that turns around and said, I didn't do anything. So that's why I'm here.
Meanwhile, the big truck keeps unloading. Now the other trucks can move in and unload too. With over 25 tons of aid brought over, there's a lot of sorting to do.
So just sorting out into spring jackets as opposed to winter jackets. Yeah, so hopefully they'll go out soon, or at least they'll be here for next spring.
I saw Hope and Aid, I knew somebody who was doing it, and I said, well, I'll have a go at that. People are suffering most terribly, and it seems to me that just nothing is being done. And even if we come out here for a week and help just for a little while, that's just making a difference. It might be a small difference, but a lot of small differences can help.
Roddy has driven his big truck over 1,200 miles. Finally, he's able to unload it.
That was the last pallet of boxes. These ones happened to be donated by the people in Liverpool, the three ladies in Liverpool. Picked it up in Essex. I took it round to Norwich and Lancaster and down to Bristol, loaded it up, and then I've driven it out here and done it in about 4 or 5 days, done it safely, the load's delivered. I'm very happy about that.
Can we all go back inside now, and I just tell everybody what's so we can organise people. Okay, everybody, listen up. Come a bit closer if we can. Brian's here.
Oh, no, there he is. I do apologise.
Okay. As you know now, we've pulled things together. We've got 2 trucks going out. We've got one going up to Subotica this afternoon. As soon as I finish this briefing, it's about 2.5 hours to get there. It's you guys that are taking it. Want to get that away as quickly as we can, but we do need a team of people to make a chain. I mean, all those sleeping bags and sleeping mats. Any questions?
No, we're ready.
Comfortable about where you're going?
Yes.
You've got the contact names?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Right.
We have been asked if we would take some food or some aid to another charity called Belgrade, in Belgrade. So we're hoping to head there this afternoon. And we got some pastas, 2 pots of pastas. Not quite sure, I think it's clothing of some sort in here. Can't really see, but yeah, so we're taking over, we're going to Belgrade and Belgrade charity.
We've also got another truck that's going off this afternoon to Subotica, which is in the north. It's right on the border with Hungary, and it's going to go to a volunteer group, and it's going to go to their store, ready to distribute, and everything will be out with the refugees in about a week's time.
I think we're off to a place called Srebrenica, but I'm not 100% sure. Fanny, are we going to Srebrenica?
No, we're going to Subotica, which is up near the Hungarian border near Szeged.
I know it.
They have a distribution centre up there, so we're stocking that distribution centre at this stage. We'll find out when we get there, but we don't know at the moment.
So, situation normal, I think.
We're meeting a crowd of people and we've got a load of stuff, sleeping bags and all sorts of things. So yeah, we'll be up there now and it'll take us a couple of hours or so.
With the aid finally secured and the distribution begun, the team's work here is done. And just in time. They're due to leave Serbia tomorrow. But before they head home, Chaz wants to visit a camp close to the border with Croatia.
Hello. Hello. Oh, here they come. Principevac is one of the main camps. There's something like 300 refugees there. We were very keen to make sure that everybody had as much help as possible.
Volunteers have opened a free shop here, and Chaz wants to see if they need any supplies.
They set it up so that the refugees themselves can come into the shop and actually have some sort of normality in selecting what they want. And our volunteers help to lay out the clothes, fold them, put them on racks, lay out the shoes, and make it a welcoming atmosphere.
That's what also thank you.
There was one couple from Iraq, a man and his wife, they came in, they were almost embarrassment at needing to take help from somebody else and from the shop. Here they were on the Serbian border in a country that didn't speak their language, with a future that was completely unknown. He was I remember a well-qualified engineer. They had to flee Iraq.
I was the scientific advisor for Iranian Commander-in-Chief Navy.
How long have you been here, Mike?
For about 2 weeks.
Oh. So where do you want to go from here?
When I go to Britannia, this is my aim. I know Britannia is democratic country, not the same the Iranian religion dictatorship.
As Principovac camp is so close to the border, it has a much heightened security presence. But Chaz has managed to get inside to see the conditions.
I've got special permission to come up and walk around the premises where the families are living, and I'll let the camera do the talking because you'll see how people are living and surviving in here. Each of these rooms, as you'll see, is full of bunks, and you've got 2 or 3 families in each room, and the family can be 2 people or 10 people, and there's no privacy between them at all. You'll see if any doors room. Each room houses, and I use the word houses advisedly, maybe 3 or 4 families. Each family has a space that is separated by blankets and is the space or the size of 2 single beds side by side, maybe with a gap in the middle. A family could be and is with children, babies, mother, father. The only privacy, a blanket hanging down between one bunk and the next bunk. When I go into some of these places, it lifts my spirits because I see the best of human endeavour and the best of human support. I also see things that make me desperately angry and frustrated. Toilet facilities and washing facilities. In this particular block, the sanitation is poor, but it's better than some places. The thing you can't get on the camera is the smell, and as you come through the building there is definitely an odour. It's humanity all in one place, living in just squalor. Absolutely full of refugees, walking up and down, sleeping, sitting on the top of their bunks or below. Lots of children running around, from all over the world.
After 10 days, it's time to head home.
We're done. We're finished. It's been an exhausting 5 or 6 days. Sun's come out for our journey home, which is good.
It's time to go home. I'm tired, but it was a success.
Off home, job done, mission accomplished. Next stop, Croatia.
Muntada Aid and Hope and Aid will be continuing their collaboration. We've got lots of plans of working in Africa. I think if we don't help refugees, we lose our humanity. It's our obligation, it's our duty. When people are suffering, and we can help, then we should help. We have an obligation, we're obliged to help. And I don't see any alternative to doing that.
I feel I've given it my best shot. I don't think I could have done much better. We're going to carry on doing what we're doing with the passion that we've had, and as long as we're needed, we will, I hope, continue to do it. We all live on the same planet. We have to help each other or we're doomed, and I think that's what it is for me. In a word, or in a few words.